Good morning, people. Well, actually, it's just turned afternoon, so it's pretty much midday. I've been out in the workshop doing a bit of a tidy up, and I'm a bit rugged up because I came out here, and I've turned the heater on, but I came out here and I looked at the temperature gauge, and it's not it's about 0.5 of a degree Celsius. So that's what that is there. That is about, let's just say 34 degrees in that funny temperature system. But, a bit nippy. So, what am I going to talk about? Well, I've been inside, logically, because it was pretty frosty this morning, and I've been deleting a huge number of videos. I did that in deference to the fact that I don't want to make you suffer with listening to me any more than is necessary. But there was some interesting developments as far as I'm concerned. I'm going to break it down. Probably I'll make them separate videos onto themselves, but there'll be 3 videos. And this one's going to be about the parallel arm guide. And that's in response to, largely, response to a comment that was made by one of the ones that looked at the channel, and they're 100% correct. Now, I may have already made this when this the parallel arm was down here, so if it's a regurgitation of that video, sort of, it is, but there's been a lot gone on since I would have made that original comment. If not, it's been deleted, because I've deleted a lot of video. Right, it's looking a little bit different than it once was. And the comment, and I haven't tested it yet, that's not the issue yet, but the comment was 100% correctly that if I were to have the tiniest little bit of error in the pins here, and maybe a little bit of slop, tiny, maybe, as the person said, 1/100th of a millimetre, by the time you angle it down and you get down to about 80 degrees of movement with the arms, you could have a multiplication factor. The cosine error factor raises its ugly head and exponentially increases the intolerance from, say, 0.1 of a mil to 1/100th of a mil to 10 or 20 times that, so like 0.2 of a mil, which is huge change, and they're 100% correct. So I've been able to use the digital calipers and determine that the measurement over center to center or whatever is 200.28, and the slap one down there 200.28. So I've got the measurement to within 1/100th of a millimetre. So that's good, isn't it? This other one here, because I've done them in, like they're in pairs, this was 200.25. So that's 0.3 of a mil difference. So that's pretty darn good. The one that I had down there was 200.27, so that's within 100. So you can see that there is some consistency there. So that is the measurement error, not necessarily any movement potential error. So yes, as you move something around, the cosine angle factor raises its ugly head. Let's pretend in my scenario that the distance between the pivots is 100% correct, which technically it is, or effectively it is with that measurement. But let's just pretend that it is 100% not a problem. Therefore, and let's just pretend for the sake of my argument that there is no slop in the pins, in the pivots. When I move it out, or move it to this position here, and I get an error, how could that possibly be? And I move back here, and there may or may not be an error. So how is that possible? The only thing I can conceive is one of the pivots, or a combination of them, is out laterally. If the lineal measurement is correct, and that's an if, then if it's out this way, it can only be a lateral like the construction, the when I built it. Okay, so that's my supposition. If, however, I have these pins perfectly spaced and I make a measurement and it's out, I go, oh, that's a bit of a shame. I can remedy that by shimming this this piece to make it parallel, one end or the other. I can do that. Okay, and then I do this and find error. It means that there is the possibility that by shimming it, bear with me, by shimming it, I have hidden an error, and I'm making the assumption that there's something wrong with the arms. It's not. It could well be the pins here, the lateral position. So I did a little bit of a drawing, and the only way I could generate the error was by doing exactly that and shifting the lateral position. This is static, so let's just say there's an error here. Well, then having a perfect measurement to the pins will permit me to be able to, just assuming, then I can make a measurement from here to this, and it might be able to pick up an error on these pins here. Might be. So that's something I'm going to check. Not just now, but I will be checking that. The other issue is with the pins in place, I can measure from the pin to the track. That not only helps me with the, the accuracy of the spacings here, but the lateral position of this to here then becomes a known. And if I get differences, I know that there's something going on. It shouldn't be, because, like I've just said, this is theoretically perfect. Then the pins to here should be theoretically perfect. But if there's an error here to this, I know that I've got a little bit of lateral error in this rail. So all these things are going to come about because I've ordered a 300 millimeter long digital caliper, a very cheap one, so I don't really hold out much expectations for it. But nonetheless, it's a 300 millimeter digital caliper, which will permit me to give a more certain figure for the overall measurement plus this sort of tolerance. Once I've got that sorted in my mind, I'm hoping I can, with it's probably over 300, but I can make some inroads to seeing what the lateral displacement is in this folded up position. So there you go. Have to wait for that digital caliper? No. So you may be looking at it going, but Dave, that's not the same setup that you had before. And what the hell are these plastic things here? Well, pleased you asked. These are a wee bit of 20 millimeter outside diameter electrical conduit. It turns out that they are a nice friction fit for the 20 millimeter bench dog holes and accessories. And you'll note that the rail that was here is no longer there. Why? Well, a couple of reasons, and it may well go back in, just by way of making a comment. The idea was that if I use these pins at all, they're cheap. It's a 100 mil long piece of conduit with just a T-piece in it. 65 cents for the T-piece, and I already had the conduit, so it's nice and cheap. And I can go through multiple layers of my tops or items to give some stability to my assembly. And by removing this, I was able to stop, in the way I had registration pins here and here, down there and here, and then I had the pivots in this, so I could pick the whole thing up as one assembly. So I thought, If I do away with this, I can do away with the registration pins and just have the pivots, and the pivots themselves are the registration pins or locating pins in the top. Makes a lot of sense. I've reduced the number of components, yay. The potential for the locating pins to add their own impact on the accuracies. So it all seems to make sense, and it does. And then when you fold it like this, that's not butting up against anything. And of course, because it's altering its position, I need now to get a, let's just say, something like this to go in there for it to miss. So I have to go there for it to butt up against, come down here. So it has to be long enough to take that or act in that role for this to rest up against, which when you think about it was this. So I'd made my rationale in the videos that I was going to have these able to fold down onto this, and they'd lie over top of the actual rail here, and I'd be going, oh, isn't that really clever? It's nice and neat, and I can pick it up and put it on my shelf, all of which is correct. Plus I'd have to have this extra piece that would pin into place for storage. Not onerous, but yeah. And then when I was thinking about it, I was thinking, hey, come on, Dave. Why not just keep this in here? It is like the original assembly. Do not have registration pins out here, but have the pivots going into this position here. Okay, well that makes sense, because now I don't have to have this extra little piece in here. So I'm back to where I started almost, or pretty much. And then I thought, there's no reason why I can't have multiple holes in the rail like this to have the arms going into, not necessarily for use all the time, but I can use this rail to see if, with all the holes, to see whether there's any of those lateral positions that may impact the tolerances for the system. And once I find where that is, it would confirm my supposition that the cosine factor error is inbuilt into one of these holes. So yeah, and I also think that putting this back in makes the whole assembly just that more stable. I'd already concluded that the packer, if I was going to use this system, would have to be bigger and would have to tie into at least 2 holes like this. I then thought, well, to make it more stable still, and because this articulates round, it would be better to hold the surface here. Well, it's got to really be maybe spanning 3 holes, maybe. Well, that's what this really is. It does the stabilizes this, the arm. It acts as a stop for this, and yeah, I think let's just go back to where I started. And that's where I'm going. I'll put this one back in. No, I won't have the registration pins in here. Remembering, I want to be able to reduce any potential position for error and just have the pivot as the locating pin. It's flaming obvious when you think about it. Plus, I may make these a little bit wider, like this, to give a wee bit more surface area to that, to make it more stable in their different positions. So yeah, no downside there, because there is the potential for rocking, and that could induce a potential for error. So that's where we're going with that. Yeah. I am also contemplating not using the PVC fitting like this. Not for a mission critical application. I'm trying to find the And I'll just go grab some. Where did I put? Yep, these ones. I'm contemplating trying to find longer ones of these. Now these are very accurate, for my purpose, accurate machine standoffs. The stainless steel, 304 stainless, and they come in the lengths of up to 40 millimeters. That's this one, I think. And it's too short for what I want. I want between an 80 to 100, and to get those, they're bloody expensive. So today, I thought about, why don't I just get 2 of these and bolt them together? In fact, I can have the threaded rod going all the way down through both of them, sticking up a little bit so I can put a knob on so I can use it in this scenario. I thought, that's not a bad idea. So I'm going to look at doing that. So that's one thing I have to also look at. These, though, if they prove themselves equal to the steel pivots in this application, I'll carry on using them, because, as I said, 65, or may not have, that T piece there is 65 cents, and while the conduit is whatever the conduit is, it was free actually. I had a little bit lying around, then I grabbed a bit from the next door neighbour who's an electrician. He had a little bit there, so very, very cheap to do that. 2 of those would be about $10, but for the fact that it's not going to cost much, yeah, not a bad idea. Thing is, too, you think about it, I had one of these pins in there anyway, and one of them for the registration purposes. Same number. Yeah. Anyway, so that's what that's all about. So I'm going to give that a bit of a go and see whether it still works in the manner that I think. How's that for an idea? Rightio, well that's it for this video. I'll finish it up here and wander off onto the other ones. It's related to the parallel arm and the dimensioning router and that router. So that'll be the very next thing we'll be talking about. So yeah, keeping these ones a little bit shorter, yeah, in deference to the suffering that you put up with when I'm waxing lyrical about the ideas for the Dave's Diary sort of thing. So, okey-doke. I'll leave you alone and I'll go away and I'll come back with the other video. Oh, okay, there you go. See you later now. Bye.